Danny, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, long time coming. I'm glad we can make it work out in San Diego. For people that don't know you and your story, give us the spark notes. Who you are, where are you coming from, what are you doing now?
Gotcha. It's not that fancy. I was born and raised out here. I live in Dallas, Texas now. I'm an entrepreneur. We buy, build, and sell companies. We have about 1,100 employees right now that I get the privilege of waking up and working for every day. It's spread out over about 5 companies, $65 to $70 million right now in annual revenue. And I started with $400 on my mom's couch. So I'm kind of and every entrepreneur's got a story like that, and I think that's what makes our country so special. But it's just the blessing of working my way up in the world and not making excuses for the place that I started. And here we are, and we're lucky and fortunate, live in the best place in the world, the best time in the world, and I'm just trying to make the best of it so we can serve people, right?
Let's go.
Yeah, so that's it.
Dude, I love it. I love it. I'm really curious about the beginning. When you and I first met a couple years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the car detailing and like that business that you were running was pretty much the primary focus. Was that the business that you started with $400, or talk to me about those early years? Yeah,
that was where it all began. I was a paintless dent repair technician, and I chased hailstorms all over the country and a lot of the world. So Germany and Canada, South America.
Yeah.
And it was great traveling when I was young, but I missed home. I missed my family at the time, and so I came back to Southern California, and I just had to figure out how to make a living here. And that's how it started. I was out having to bang on doors. A lot of people don't believe it. Naturally, I'm an introvert, so that was a really hard thing for me to do. I just didn't like the way that the bottom felt. It sucked. I didn't even have a bedroom, right? My girlfriend at the time dumped me because I was busted. I didn't have anything to show for my life. This will date me a little bit, but I used to buy used audio cassette tapes on eBay to try and get motivated. So your Robert Kiyosaki's and your Tony Robbins and whatnot. And I was so poor that I would have to sell them again on eBay to get money to buy the next round. So when a lot of people think that entrepreneurs can't relate to the season that you're going through in your life, a lot of times the starting point is much lower than people would anticipate. So when I'm talking with a lot of my team members that might be going through a hard time, sometimes I'll ask them, hey, can I ask you if you have $400? And they'll kind of look at me like, of course I have $400. Okay, I just want to remind you that we're a lot more similar than you might think. So let's start there. Let's have a talk as two people that know what that side of the world looks like. I just got lucky and blessed.
Yeah, I think you alluded to it in the beginning of your talk, like your intro. It's like we live in this time right now where it's so easy to talk shit about what's going on, especially in this country, and fail to realize that the lowest of the low here is blessed compared to the rest of the world, right? It's interesting. I didn't know it's like almost storm restoration on the car detailing side of things. We have a lot of guys that knock doors and obviously do a lot of storm chasing in the roofing world and stuff like that. And what's always interesting to me is seeing the parallels between a lot of these interviews, and like some sort of door-to-door direct sales is always a focal point early on for a lot of the most successful people. As you started to grow that business, right? Because what's really, really cool to me is the polarity of it. The $400 from the start, and then when you and I met, really high clientele, wildly expensive world being that high-end car world. Like, how did you move into that space? Because to the point of the relatability, talking to your people, it's like, it's really easy to not see the similarities, but you built it. What did that look like as you were building it?
It's people, this is a struggle for me because in the world that we're in, we're real big on mentorship and getting in the right rooms and learning from people. And something that I've never understood is a lot of times people make something sexier or fancier than it really was. And a lot of my friends will tell me that I self-deprecate a lot. And deep down, I think that's just me showing people that 98% of this is a blessing. You got to get in the game, you got to work hard, you got to keep your word, you got to do the right thing, and you need to be likable. But I didn't go to a day of college in my life. Where I'm at right now was nowhere close to the plan that I thought that I was making. I was just worried about surviving, but I just stayed in the game, and I'm nobody special. You know, at the beginning when we intro, it's like, listen, let's get the companies out of the way, the number of employees out of the way, the revenue out of the way, because I don't like talking about that stuff. That's what I do. That's my job, but that's not who I am. That's not my why. My why's at home. It's my wife. It's my kids. So when people come to me and they want help with their businesses, or we're looking at purchasing a business, most of the time, I don't see business problems. I see people problems. I see self-limiting beliefs. I see people that can't get out of their own way, or they're scared. You're mentioning door knocking. That's so hard to do. I can't do it. I hate it. I get anxiety thinking about it. If someone can get that out of the way early in their career, that's so valuable. That's priceless. So my big thing is, don't make it fancier than it is, because what happens is when people sit up here and they listen to all these people slaying dragons, it discourages them. I can't be like that. I can't talk like that. I'm not going to run into an opportunity like that. That's not true. You're not going to have any of those great things if you don't get in the game and stay in the game. But it's really hard for me when someone comes to me and asks me to fix their business, and after speaking with them a few minutes, I realize that we really need to work on fixing yourself. And that's the biggest problem we're having right now in this society, is we're turning into complainers. And you know, you mentioned being at such a great time in America to be alive. If you're in the welfare system today, you live a life of more convenience than John D. Rockefeller did when he was alive. Richest man in the world at the time. And we have more amenities right now if you're in the welfare system. The quality of life is better right now for those folks that are struggling than the richest man in the world. And that's really, it's really important that we realize that, because 86% of the people in our country, the greatest country to ever exist, the greatest time to ever be alive, 86% of the people here can't say they're happy. And that sucks.
It's crazy.
So if this doesn't make you happy, I don't know what's going to make somebody happy. Like, we're so blessed even to be here. You know, they did a study in '08, National Science Foundation, on the thoughts that we have every day in our minds. And they determined it's about 60,000. And of the 60,000 thoughts, they said that 48,000 of those thoughts are negative thoughts. 80%. In this time right now, that's so sad. And here's what's crazy. That was 17, 18 years ago. Let's not even worry about the last 15 years before that. Let's get into the last 3. Let's get into COVID. So if 80% of your thoughts weren't good, they came from a place of a self-limiting belief or scarcity or insecurity pre-COVID.
So
look at what we did, man. We shut the world down. We took our kids out of school. Like, we couldn't go visit our grandparents at senior care facilities or wherever they were, right? We canceled graduations, proms for kids. You know, my daughter is 5 years old right now. We refused to do it, but she was expected to have 75% of her life be with the mask on, where a child can't see facial expressions from their parents. They're sat in front of an iPad to learn for multiple years of their lives. When you think about what we've done to that society, to our kids, how can it only be 80%? The female, 2020, December, the female teenage suicide rate, it was up 50%. We did that. We did that. And that's all self-limiting beliefs. You know, you're not a father yet. You're recently married, which is awesome. For the last couple years, so many fathers had to bring children into the world with their wives in a delivery room and them downstairs in a lobby, leaning up against a soda machine, looking at their iPhone, praying that the doctor is going to tell them that their kid's okay. That's not living. Here's the thing people don't realize, though. The same year, Cornell University did a study very similar, and it was kind of a parlay onto the NSF study. They said, we're with you on the 60,000 thoughts. We're with you on 48,000 of those thoughts being negative thoughts. But y'all didn't finish the survey. 78 to 80% of those thoughts, they never even happen. They never happen, the things that you're worried about. And of that last 20%, 15 to 20%, 78% of those thoughts happen with an effect, a cause, that's less than you anticipated. So the math on it is this, it's real simple. 97% of the things that we're worrying about today, right now, we don't need to be.
Yeah.
All of that lives inside of us. So if you want to get your business right, your company right, your team members right, your marriage right, what you're doing to serve right, you got to work on getting yourself right. So that's my main focus. People ask me all the time, how do you go from one industry to another industry to another? How do you go from car washing to manufacturing gun parts or the casino business? It's because we look at the numbers, and I really make sure that I invest in learning about people. And so that's what I would say to anybody right now. If you want to make it anywhere in life, even more important than college, because I didn't go at all. A lot of the people that I look up to didn't go at all. You gotta learn how to be likable, learn how to understand people, and live in a world where you believe in reciprocity and giving back and serving, and serving without asking for something back. And so there's not a fancy way to put it. Know who you are and know what you can offer to somebody else, and the rest will work itself out.
Yeah, it's become so clear to me over the last couple of years that, I mean, I've always said that we're all in the people business regardless of what we do, and that's clearly true. But I think you also, at least in the spheres that we live in, you always hear like building a business is the best personal development you'll ever do, right? And my coaches tell me that building a coaching business is the most like personal development, right? But I was talking to Mikey about this last night while we were walking back to the hotel room, and I was telling him, and I'm like, dude, like, I don't know, I've been building this business for 5 or 6 years, like pretty not a lot of time on the grand scheme of things, but like ate shit for a lot of those years, and now finally starting to see some growth that we're really proud of. And I looked at it and I'm like, okay, like I could look at other industries and see all these like massive numbers, and yeah, what we see on Instagram is not reality, right? And like we have to look at margin and profitability and all these things. But I'm like, dude, like the most excited that I am is the fact that we've endured this. I've learned how to deal with people and manage well, and I just know that all the skill sets that I'm building running this business and the bottlenecks I'm opening for myself so I can increase that lid, right, and open for all this space for my people, it's inevitable that we become wildly successful in whatever industry that we continue to build in, because we've done the work and we're continuing to find the way that, like my language is like the bottlenecks, opening them up and then finding the next one, right? And just continuing to open those up. But it's all personal development and people, right? So I think that's so cool, and it makes so much sense to me. One thing that I want to make sure we move into, and I don't know what the order of these episodes will be, but I talked with Cole about this as well, and like, I think a lot of people look at these masterminds and they think, oh, like, what are you getting for your business, right? And that's never been my mindset. Like, of course, maybe at the start, but I never stayed for that. Like, the ROI that I get is learning from people like you and Cole, who are in a different stage of life, doing it what I view as like well, like very well. And like, I want to model those behaviors as I get into that family side of it. And you were talking yesterday about this, balance, harmony, whatever language we want to use. Talk to me about that family first way that you've built these businesses, because the accolades are amazing, the revenue, the employee count, all like that stuff's really cool, but it's all for something else. And I think you're really clear on that. And I'd love for you to share your perspective for people on that.
I am really clear on that. Some of the few things that I am clear on is why I work. I work for my family. The people that I need to impress already live in my house. And my jobs are a means to an end. It gives me money to provide, and it gives me money to be of service, to help, to tithe, to make sure that I can leave this planet a little bit better than maybe I found it. So I'm very deliberate about my schedule. And every moment that I invest in something, I need to make sure it's a trade-off, because it's a moment that I don't get to spend at home with my family. So am I investing in this business trip? Am I investing in this event where we're all together? Is this going to make life better later for my family? Is this going to give me more time, more freedom? And is this going to make my kids proud? So I won't get into any business where I have to be apologetic about my marriage, my loyalty to my wife, about my kids, the reason that I work, about my faith. I just won't do it. I don't need to do it. I don't need to do it. I can go find a lot of other people like Cole, like you, that we have the same northern stars, and we can surround ourselves with like-minded entrepreneurs that believe in the same thing and want to go out and use the fruits of what we reap to go and help other people. And it's real simple. Maybe I'm crazy for this, but I feel like we go through 4 phases of life. And I believe the first phase is our selfish phase, and that's when we're young, we live at home, someone's doing our laundry for us, cooking our food, we worry about what's on the iPhone during the day and maybe where somebody's going to go to college. That maybe takes you into the early 20s. And then after that, we go into a selfless phase. That's where we get into a career and we hopefully meet somebody that's going to be our partner in life. We get married, we have a mortgage or rent. We have to go out during the day and work so we can bring that money home. You kind of become an investor at that point. But the beautiful part about that selfless phase, sometimes family comes into play during that. Children come into the world. This is the first time where you ever realize that you would die for somebody. And that was such an epiphany for me. Without thought, there are people on this planet that I would die for, right? It's your wife, it's your kids, whoever you end up waking up and determining is your why. And then after you get established, you move into the phase of service, phase 3. So by now, hopefully you're a business owner, you've got some employees, you can give back. That's the time where you're the most valuable to the planet, because you can give. You can be of service. This is where the orphanage comes into play. Whatever you decide to do at church, the lessons that you're giving to young entrepreneurs to inspire them and not discourage them from taking those big chances, right? Not distancing yourself so much where they think you're so cool and you're so smart that they can never do it. That's not right. So right now I'm very deliberate about the phase that I'm in my life, which is the phase where I'm here to serve. Okay, and phase 4 is real simple. It's your legacy. It's what stays after you die. That's it. So what goodness can you create down here while you're in stage 3 that'll continue on after you leave? And let's just say, for example, I know everybody has different religious beliefs or theology, but let's say we get up there and it's real simple. Because everything you know and everything that was taught to you and everything that you have, let's just say that we work off the premise that that was given to us and we're blessed with it. So I'm not going to be able to talk my way out of getting myself a big house upstairs when it's time, right? Swimming pool and big screen TV, because he's going to know. At least in my heart, he's going to know. But let's say, for example, he says, come with me, and walks me over to the edge of the cloud. And he looks down. He says, show me what good in the world continued on after I brought you home. What's moving after you stopped? And that's investing in the planet. And that's investing in life. And if you don't do that, then you're just renting your life. And that was very profound. That was actually a dream that I had. But if you're standing on that cloud and everything stopped, because you stopped, nobody cares about the houses, the cars, the flash dancing like Bobby Castro says. Nobody cares about that. What goodness stays after you left? And that's being rich, right? Part of that is in the world. Part of that's in your family. What are you leaving? What clues are you leaving that's going to make the world better? So you got to take all that service, and then you got to find a way to make sure that that service stays here when you go home. So that's my jam right now, and that's where I'm at. What can I go out and give that might outlive me? And the orphanage that Cole and I are so passionate about, that's a big purpose for that. I want my children to be proud, and in 30 years or 40 years, have them go down, Cole's kids, and just stand there and look around and say, look what our daddies did, look what our mommies did, right? That's rich. Yeah. And outside of my family, giving is probably the thing I'm most proud of. So I feel like you have to be deliberate about that. I have to go to work. I get to go to work so I can make money, not only to change lives with our team members, but so I can go out and change lives with people that didn't have the opportunity and the blessings that we did. The orphanage, for example, these kids that are down there, they didn't do anything different than you and I did. They were born 200 miles south. That's it. That's it. And if we can't go down there and show them that there's still some good people in the world, then what are we doing? Because we want a car where the doors go up instead of the doors go out. That's not living. I've done that. That feels empty. Gets you all around the wrong people. Doesn't work. So that's what makes me rich, is I wake up every morning and I know that the more I go out and do, the more I'm able to go out and serve. And if nobody's done that yet, I would implore you to go try that, because that feels so much better than buying something bougie.
Yeah. Dude, I love it. And before we continue to dig into the work-life family harmony, I think this is a good opportunity to talk about what you guys are doing with Make Money Matter. And in case this goes live before the episode, that Cole and I talked about it a little bit, but like, tell people what they're doing. Obviously makemoneymatter.org will be linked in the show notes so they can check it out, support it, all that fun stuff. But give them an idea of what you guys are building.
So, you know, one of the things, well, there's a lot of things that I love about Cole. I've never met someone that roots more for his friends than Cole does. And that's probably what really gravitated me towards him. Genuinely, he's happier for you than you are for yourself when you have a win. But he does that with everything in his life. And so I lived down the street from Cole for several years. I was integrated into that family, and every morning we would be in the garage exercising at his house. And so I would watch him go down to Mexico and bring money to, you know, Marcos and Rebecca. And he would never ask me for help. He would just quietly do it. Sometimes I'd find out about it after he got back. And I'd gone down there with him and knew what it was about. And I kept waiting for him to ask, hey, bro, do you want to send any money down with me? Do you want to come down with me? So I finally asked him about it, and he just said, hey, listen, because of my faith, it's just something that Sonia and I do in private. And that's an admirable answer. It's a really admirable answer, except for the fact that if he does that because of the way that it makes him feel, he needs to be in the place where he allows other people to have that same feeling of giving. And so I don't know what it was, but I didn't get feisty, but I just told him, like, dude, who are you helping right now if you don't let other people help? Right? And I know, you know, you go back to the Bible, the right hand and the left hand, and they're not supposed to know. And for personal tithing, that's cool. But if you have a microphone the size of the microphone that Cole has, for example, where he has access to hundreds of thousands of people, if he's not trying to inspire and implore people to go out and do good in the world like he does, then he's not using his gift. And so, you know, Cole is really deliberate about that. And I'm great at building things. I can go down there and maybe see some things that others can't. And so us joining forces together has been a really great balance, because we are mid-construction right now on some huge things down there. And what's happening in Mexico right now is really just tragic. It's tragic, the trafficking that's going on the open borders, and the fact that the cartels are now they are working their way into the family system, and they are kidnapping children, or they are buying children in forgiveness for debt, drug debt that these husbands have gotten into with the cartels. And so right now, and we're 10 minutes from the border, every 6 to 8 minutes, they're smuggling a child up here. And it's just horrible. It's horrible. And people can pretend it's not happening, but when you go to Mexico and you see it, you'll never be able to deny it ever again. And can we solve the whole problem? No. And that was something that was an epiphany for me while we were down there. This is bigger than us. This is huge. Half of the children that are homeless in Mexico right now have been abused on some level. But how do you tell the dozens, soon to be the hundreds that you have saved, that trying wasn't important for them because it's life-changing? And we don't know who those kids are going to be and how many they're going to help, right? So that's the big deal. And this sounds horrible to talk about, but it's real. The cartels have realized if we manufacture a kilo and we bring it over the border, we sell it once. But if we bring a little boy or a little girl over, we can sell them 25 times a day. It's hard for me, so. We can't sit here and pretend that's not happening. So if we were lucky enough to be born here during this time, and 86% of us aren't happy, what's going to make somebody happy, right? We got to get ourselves right. And that's tough. I see one of the businesses we sold, my average customer is probably worth $15 million. So I've seen all the flexing, all the fancy cars, all the big houses, but they're all occupied by emptiness. And a lot of people can manufacture this outside world and make it look like it's amazing, but the inside's broken. I haven't met a lot of people where the inside's amazing and the outside's broken. So there's something there, you know, and it starts inside. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad that this is the generation that we're bringing our children into right now. Mm-hmm. It's really on us. You know, we talk about this younger generation and they wouldn't do this and they don't do that and maybe they need to work harder, they don't appreciate things. Well, who did they learn all this from? You know, they're a reflection of what we're showing them. So we have to do better. We have to do better. There's a lot of division in our country right now. I think the entrepreneurs of the world are our only hope, mm-hmm. you know, and what we're teaching our kids at home. So that's important, and that's a thing for me right now. You know, my wife and I moved from California to Texas when the kids started school, and that requires me being gone more. And so I'm extra deliberate about the places that I'm investing my time right now. And I'll tell you something, with the kids, when you have kids, because I know you have to travel too, they don't measure the days you're home. They measure the experiences that they have with you while you are home. Mm-hmm. So while I'm at home, I'm dropping the kids off at school. We're having the talks on the way to school. I'm picking them up. I'm taking them to golf lessons. We're there. We're hitting church. I'm real big. My children have core values. So morning routine and evening routine, they're paramount. So when I'm home with the kids, we're banging through core values. We're saying our prayers. I'm asking them if they have questions for daddy. But it's not bad that they see that the life of an entrepreneur requires travel, right? Work's hard. Having a career is hard. Building a business is hard. And in the world that I was raised, where we lived off of scarcity, I never got to see that. So your children seeing that you love them and their mom, your family enough to need to leave, to come back, to provide the lifestyle that you are. They know it, so I can go serve people also. They know, hey, daddy's going to Mexico, or daddy's going, you know, here so I can help kids that aren't as blessed as you are. They understand that right now. So that's being programmed into their brain. Mm-hmm. So I'm never apologetic about the trips. I'd be apologetic about the waste. If I was a golf trip guy or a fishing trip guy or something, then that's not right. But daddy's leaving for a couple days so I can come back home and spend deliberate time with each of you, and I can make sure that we can have all this. So they get it, and I don't know that I would trade that for a, you know, hard-working CPA that's working his way up in a firm that has to leave at 6 in the morning, get home at 7 o'clock at night. I probably see my kids more than that person does, unfortunately, for them, right? So the goal is over the next couple years to travel a little less. It was a deal that my wife and I made when we moved out to Texas. We have to sell a few more of the California companies. But I think we're working that out. And a lot of people bring up work-life balance. It's becoming kind of a cliche word. Yeah. And I think it's more of just alignment. Because when you're an entrepreneur, it is who you are. Mm-hmm. Like when I think of work-life balance, it's maybe someone not answering the phone after 5 or on Saturday if there's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Or you're impeding on my work-life balance. But if we know those calls are going to come, right? If I go on a little 4-day trip with my wife and the kids, just a quick 4-day trip, they know I might need a couple hours downstairs in the morning. So my wife will plan an activity. They're going to go to kids club or whatever. I can get downstairs, bang out my day, and then I can be present for my family. Mm-hmm. So there's things that you do have to do that you're deliberate about. I'm not a phone call in the house guy. If I am, it's in my office, that's it. I don't want my children to ever hear the tactical side of me in that regard. I don't yell at people or swear on the phone or anything like that. But when I'm home, I want to be home for my kids. I know you're friends with Carlos Reyes too. Him and I are in alignment on that. He's not a phone call in the house guy either.
Yeah.
And when you think about things, when you're making time for your family, when you're carving time out, we're not as busy as we pretend to be.
Yeah.
If you really looked through your day and you got rid of all those inefficiencies, you have more time for your family, you have more time for your kids, you have more time for yourself than we like to realize. So, not everybody's able to have a time auditor come in and follow you around and show you all the time you've wasted, but it's embarrassing even for me. When I look, wow. And then they're like 2.5 hours. What could you done with your son or your daughter?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It's a practice everyone should go through, and audit their day in some capacity. I want to bring people back, and I want to highlight one thing that you shared, and I'm going to do the exact same thing Cole did to you yesterday, because I think you came up with that thought on the spot, but it was every single person in the room next door to us was writing that down as you said it. And I'm going to paraphrase it, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you said there are a lot of people that have the outside right, but the inside's broken, but you don't know many people who have the inside right and the outside's broken. Dude, that is, and it's the same theme that keeps coming up. Like, we always have to go internal and sort that out, because that's going to solve everything else, whether it's family, business, all of these pieces. It's so good.
I won't get specific about this, but that realization came to me from a traumatic experience that we had in our family regarding health and the kids.
Yeah.
And a journey that we're on that's going awesome, and it's amazing. It's going to have a happy ending, and it's not my journey to discuss. But as a parent, we make a mistake sometimes when our children need help. It's very easy to fall into this rut of feeling sorry for yourself, crying about it. Why me? What did we do wrong? We don't deserve this. What did the kids do?
Yeah.
That's a dangerous place to be. You love on your kids, squeeze your kids, hold your kids, give your kids the courage and the confidence to go out and conquer the world. But if your child has a problem and you lean on that self-pity as a crutch, then you're not doing your job as a parent. So I have my relationship with my children. It's a very personal, loving relationship. But when my kids need help, it's business. That's it. And while we were going through this journey, I fired so many doctors, got rid of so many people, walked so many people to the front door of my house. And they're like, I don't understand. Why don't you think we'll be a good fit? I could see it in your eyes, right? And so when you get in that alignment where you're deliberate about what my purpose is, you don't have to be mean or rude to anybody, but if you're in my way, then you can't be here with me. And so the relationship you have with your kids and the way that you need to do business for your kids is completely different. And when this situation happened, I was outside of the house because it was a call, and it was about 10 o'clock at night, and I was walking just in the middle of the street, and I was crying about this with my buddy, and I'm going on and on and on about this situation in life. And he told me, dude, are you crying right now? And I got so mad. I started screaming at him, cussing actually too, which I don't like to do. Are you not listening to me? Like, how can you tell me that right now? And he says, how is that serving? How is that serving your family right now? You're the man of your house. They need you. And you're outside right now crying. That's not going to fix anything. You need to get yourself right. You need to knock it off. This isn't about you. This didn't happen to you. This needs to be business. You need to attack this. So as a father, that was such a big breakthrough for me, because that's true. And a lot of times we sit in things longer than we need to. So for people that aren't parents yet, move that over to business. How many times do we sit in the emotion of our business and not kick into attack mode? How many businesses do people like me get to buy? because people couldn't get themselves right. There are more personal problems than there are business problems. And we know that by just watching someone else that's got a messed up life tell someone else how to fix theirs. They know what to do. They just can't fix theirs because of what lives inside, those self-limiting beliefs. So if you're a parent, use it in the context that I did, because that's how we overcame that obstacle, and that's why our life is amazing right now, because I didn't sit there and live in that pile of trash and crap that got thrown at our doorstep for a couple years. But if I didn't hear that, I need to be strong. You know, and that's turned into a lot of things. You know, the way that I start my morning, the way that I shut down my evening, core values that we have in our house, about being deliberate. I need to be strong for them. And that was so far probably one of the greatest lessons of my life, and it works in so many different categories. So most of the times I'll buy a really good business that sounds bad, the world needs to hear it, from a really weak individual that's going through a season of their life that they can't conquer. So, you know, so take that one to the bank, but that's where that came from. You know, the outside can be good, the inside's broken. But if the inside's good, the outside is normally not broken. Because you can self-diagnose, you can identify the problem, you can figure out why I'm not liking the way that this situation's making me feel, you can get tactical about it, you can figure out what the end needs to look like, and then you can go after it. But that's not taught in school. That's not taught in a business book. That's not in college. That's inside. So when people ask me all the time, what's the biggest business thing you can work on? I always say it's simple. It's yourself. That's it. I'm not where I want to be right now. I tell people all the time, on a good day, maybe I'm 40%. Maybe I'm 40%. But I know it's every single day, one step closer to where I need to be. And that's what's helped me the most. And a lot of times, I'll get off track. I'll say something that might not be fluent or whatnot. But I really take pride in that, because I don't want the younger version of us to think that it's harder than it is, or that it's unattainable. We live in a world right now where you can Google anything. Pretty soon AI is just going to tell you the resources and the abilities that we have right now to go out and provide for our families. If you can't, 99% of the time I'm going to tell you it's because of what's living inside of you. So if you can get out of your own way, if you can be humble, and if you can work on yourself, then I think you can almost do anything.
Yeah, that ties in so well with some of the things you said early on, right? The over-glamorization of the journey, which I think happens in this entrepreneurial space way too often. People paint a picture of sunshine and rainbows instead of realizing that, like, success in life really is failing 97 times out of 100, getting punched in the face repeatedly, and the 3 W's are the things that make this beautiful thing that we get to experience. And if you're not prepared for that, if you're not doing this work, I don't know, this seems to be a theme in so many conversations I'm having recently, but I just finished a book called How the Mighty Fall by Jim Collins, one of the In the Good to Great series, the later ones.
Great author.
Yeah, and basically a combination of that and maybe some other content I was consuming, but it's like, dude, like, things are gonna go wrong. And if you understand that, Dan was talking about it yesterday too, like, they're going to go wrong. So you have to do that inner work, grow into the version of yourself that's capable of navigating these things. And then you're prepared, because it's inevitable, right? And that 97 out of 100, it's gonna happen. But if you do the work, you're prepared for the 3.
Winners fail, losers quit. And anybody that we look up to in this world on a business level, Elon Musk, Howard Schultz, whoever it is, right? J.K. Rowling's. They have failed more than they've succeeded. You know, everybody wants to talk about Elon and $44 million Twitter check, $200 billion Twitter check, $200 billion in the bank. Nobody asked him anymore about 6 years ago when he was facing insolvency, right? Howard Schultz got told no, I think 242 times by banks.
Crazy.
We didn't have anything to drink.
Crazy.
Here's what's crazy. might get some of this wrong, but J.K. Rowling's, Harry Potter author,
Yeah.
left an abusive marriage with her daughter, had to move in with her sister and brother-in-law. She was living on about $125 a week through the welfare system over there, whatever that version was, and depressed and suicidal. And she would go to her brother-in-law's coffee shop in the morning, and she started writing a book. And you know how the rest of that goes, right?
Yeah.
So you live in your failures, and part of faith is still being able to see light when you're in your darkest time, and just not giving up. Any entrepreneur has lived through some form of trauma. And the ones that you want to talk with are the ones that just stayed through it, right? There's a whole list of others, millions of others that turtled up and went home and didn't fight through it. So failure, a lot of times when I'll look at things, if some of our team members come in and have to present their quarterly projections, business plans, growth strategies, if I don't see failure built in, we call them contingencies, then it's not a solid plan, because nothing in life goes perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll ask them, where's the failure that you built into your success plan? It has to be there. Has to be there. So I was talking with a good friend actually with us this weekend, and he was a little down on himself too, and I asked, he's got a great marriage, really amazing marriage, and I told him, you know, let's say he's been married roughly 10 years. I said, let's say 11 years ago you and I were at a restaurant, and we were meeting up and we're good buddies, and you came in and you're like, hey, I'm sorry that I'm late. We're just having a hard time right now. I can't meet anybody. I feel lonely. I'm not proud of myself. I don't feel good. I don't know if I'm ever going to find somebody to fall in love. And I told the person, what if I told you that I knew in 6 months you were going to meet the person of your dreams, that you were going to get married, you were going to grow old together, have an amazing family, beautiful grandkids, and you're going to die in your sleep holding hands together at 100 years old. But there was a little bit of bad news. Would you want to hear the story? And our friend says, yeah, I'd want to hear the story. I said, okay. The bad news is the first 4 times you ask her out, she says no. He's like, okay. And I said, that's it. He said, can't be it. I said, that's it. The first 4 times you're going to go ask her out, she's going to say no. So if you knew this beautiful life waited for you, you just had a little bit of adversity before you got there, would you do it? So I would absolutely do it. Why would you ask me that? That's a no-brainer is what he told me. I says, you would do it because you know what the end looks like. The first time that you asked her and she rejected you, you'd be fine because you got a quarter of it done. The second time, your shoulders are going to go back. You're going to feel extra proud of yourself because you're halfway to the beginning of your dreams. She says no the third time. You're scheduling a haircut. You're ordering some skinny jeans because you know what happens the 4th time you ask. Life begins. Your blessings begin. Your dreams begin. And I says, so that's 4 times. Would you have asked her 10? He says, for the 100. I said, yeah. He goes, yeah. Would you ask her 100? He says, dude, I'd ask her 1,000,000. 1,000,000 times if you knew how things were going to end up. If you knew that your dreams were waiting for you. Well, that's failure, right? But we have enough confidence, enough vision, enough foresight to know what the dream's going to look like at the end. But we don't do that with other things in life. You have to know that there's failure in your success plan. But on the other side of that is your dreams, is your life, is your family, is your business. The champions of the world are the ones that are okay with the no. So if you build it in, I'm going to go ask for this dream customer. They're going to say no. They get 25 calls a day. Let's start with the no. What do I say after the no? Let's work on that. Don't practice when your customer's there. You know, hey, sir, I knew that you might say this, and I thought this would be a good alternative instead. Whatever the scenario is, right? That's where you're great in the business that you're at with consulting. But build in 2 or 3 or 4 no's. And if you get there on your second no, you're winning. But if you think you're going to start a plan in life and not get any no's, you're naive. You're not ready to be an entrepreneur. You're probably not going to have a real good time.
Yeah.
You know, so build that failure into your success plan. That's just part of it, right? Every road has bumps. And if people don't realize that, They internalize it, and then they feel like they're a failure, and then they stop. And then they lose, and then they become one of the 86% of the United States right now complaining about the greatest time to ever be alive. Don't be that guy, right? So that's where I'm at on failure. I look at it like it's a learning experience for me. I figure out how to overcome it, and then I push that one behind me, and I say, thank God, one's down, I've only got X amount left to go. I usually run it in a 4 or 5 pack. If I want something that's big enough, an audacious enough goal, there's never only 2 failures in that. There's never. Well, you guys, if you guys saw my wife, you would know I didn't stop on 5 failures, right?
Yep.
But look at my life now, right? So that's my jam on failure. If you're not ready for it, then you're not ready to be an entrepreneur yet.
Dude, so good.
Yeah.
So good. Danny, for people that at this point, they're like, where can we learn more? Obviously, makemoneymatter.org. That will be in the show notes. Guys, show some love. Our for purpose, we work with one of our mutual friends, Larry, and
I love Larry and Alma.
And Alma, they're amazing. And I've been talking to Paul and Cole about how we can get you guys involved as well. So, like, guys, show some love. Support whatever you can do because it's an amazing bit of work that you guys are doing. Where can people follow along with your journey? Like, where do you hang out on social? Plug away, my friend.
I actually need to be much better on social than I am. So I on Facebook, it's just Danny Chaves, Chaves. On Instagram right now, it's PFS_Danny. I need to be better about social media. Not because of the businesses that we have, because I can use that later for a vehicle to help more people. And that would be the ask. I'm sure if you spoke with Cole, For Purpose came up. Our goal, our dream, hopefully the breadcrumb that we leave here when it's our time to go back home is that you can run a business for purpose. You can allocate a percentage of your revenue. You can give it to people who need it, and there is enough good people in the world that you will attract that will gravitate towards your business to where that should not cost you a thing. It should make your business thrive. People like to be around like-minded people. If you can go and take care of a business and serve a business that's helping someone else, there's still a lot of good in the world. You know, it's just not on the news. So when we've become unapologetic about that, it's not the reason that I do it, but being a for-purpose business has been one of the most profitable ventures in any of the verticals in the companies. You know, we had a $2 million a year deal turn into a $4 million a year deal because the CFO of the particular company somehow stumbled across what we were doing down in Mexico. And for a second I felt guilty about that, and I was telling him, sir, I don't want that to be the reason that we get this contract. He says, you're wrong. That's the reason that I am giving you the contract, because I don't know what someone else is going to go do with something else, but I know where you're going to go, and I know if that's how you're living, then I know the way that you're going to take care of us too. So I would implore everybody to start getting in the groove of giving and of serving. And maybe you're not financially able to yet. Some of the people out here that are listening, allocate an amount of time to service for every deal that you close, for example. And maybe you're in the mortgage business and you're just getting started, you're building your office, or interest rates are going crazy right now. But every deal that you close, maybe you donate 2 hours at a library, soup kitchen, an orphanage. Just start doing that. Your heart will fill up. It's better than any sports car you could ever buy, any watch you could ever buy, the gift of serving. And then be careful, because you might accidentally show your kids what a decent human being looks like in the world. And you might be on to the start of something really big. So that would be my deal. Makemoneymatter.org. And we're not reaching into anybody's pockets, but just go out and do some good in the world. Try and leave it better than you found it. And then at the end, pray that I'm right and that we can all look over that cloud and find things down there on the planet that are still moving, because we spent some time doing good.
So good. Guys, get connected, show some love, all that fun stuff. Danny, last question.
Yes, sir.
Going all the way back, $400. in your bank account pocket, whatever it was, getting started, right? And going through all of that personal development on that journey to build the business into what it became. And now all the other journey, moving from California to Texas and adding all these different businesses to the portfolio, exiting some, and 1,100 employees, all the accolades that the social media world cares about, and specifically all the growth you've done, right? And growing into a lot of what you're doing with Make Money Matter and with Cole and a lot of these things. This entire window, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned that has yielded the most results and had the biggest impact on your life and in your business?
Being able to sit alone by myself and be proud of the direction that I'm going. And that will follow me with any business. You can hide all you want, you can move where you want, you can run from whomever or wherever you want. In the morning, you're brushing your teeth, in whatever mirror you choose to hide at that morning, you got to look at yourself. Are you okay with yourself? That's the biggest thing. And if I can raise a family where my wife is proud of me and my kids are proud of me, then the rest doesn't matter. So that would be the main thing. Work on yourself. Especially the young folks right now. That's the most priceless piece of advice that I could ever give. Because then it doesn't matter what business you're in. If you know who you are, then you're good.
Love it. Danny, thanks for joining me, brother.
Appreciate you.
100%.
Thanks so much.